Thank you, thank you. Good evening. I'm delighted, humbled, and honored to have the opportunity to serve as your Master of Ceremonies this evening. We have gathered here to celebrate Chancellor Motley's compassion, commitment, and dedication to the University of Mass Boston and to the University of Massachusetts system at large. As one looks around the room, and it's a nice room and it's filling up nicely, we see elected officials, city officials, business leaders, college and university presidents and chancellors, members of our Board of Trustees. I see Chairman Rob Manning and Trustee Phil Johnston, and Board of Visitors and philanthropists, esteemed faculty, distinguished students, and of course, members of the Motley family. To engage in introductions of dignitaries would not only be very time-consuming, but it will also contradict the concept of our guest of honor in which he brings to every room he enters, that every person present is a VIP and important to the occasion. As such, please accept my thanks on his behalf for the presence of all of you here this evening as a sign of the love and respect we have for our friend, J. Keith Motley. Chancellor Motley has had a profound impact not only on UMass Boston and the UMass system, he has had an enormous impact on the city of Boston and the entire region. To see Keith Motley in motion is to watch poetry in motion. Never a hint of self-aggrandizement, never a hint of egocentricity. For Keith Motley, it's never been about the job. It's always been about the mission. And I'm not a preacher, although my middle name is Malachi, so I can take some liberties. But I think, Keith, that will get you to heaven. And you know you need a little help. Yeah, okay, all right. Let's not get it twisted. Yeah. As we have become accustomed to here on this campus, we begin tonight's celebration with an ode to Keith, delivered by UMass Boston's Poet Laureate. Please welcome Distinguished Professor of English, Duncan Nelson.
Thank you, thank you. As I make my way to the stage, you'll be pleased to see there's only one page. But lest you think that hope abides forever, full disclosure, there are two sides. The bardic bays must be donned. Where are they? In my pocket. There we go. Ha! Transformation. Ode to Keith. You know, this all could be summarized, but I'm going to go on for a while because I like to rhyme. In that, Keith, I love you, and where's Keith? Ah, Keith, I love you, and we all love you too. That's the truth. Are you ready? Yes. All right. I rise, having donned my laurel wreath, to celebrate the 10-year time at our helm completed by Keith. All around us tonight we shall hear his praises sung, and I in verse will be singing out loud and clear my triumphant I ams to rehearse the many qualities that endear him to us, his supersized presence, and the way that he can work a room which brings out everybody's essence in the finest fullest bloom. And there's no one else on earth can say, and we are so grateful for that, and never repeat it in quite the same way, a feat for which I shall doff my hat. As for all our new buildings, they're just the tip of the iceberg that has this school recognized as higher education's flagship. Its banner and beacon hailed worldwide for inspiring a fresh new way of learning, inclusive and diversified, that already is seeing the tide turning because of this very ambitious bet we've made. Keith does not gamble lowball, that the world's needs will only be met when our vision becomes global. Pretty good rhyme. So our students now go to and come from many and varied ports of call: Haiti, Cape Verde, Vietnam. So many of them, I shan't list them all. But suffice it to say, we now ease the way for students to work for degrees, not only at home, but overseas, from Scotland to the Antipodes. And it's this explosion of exploration, of curiosity unleashed, that produces unification as walls dividing us are breached. And this is what Keith, with us, has begun. And our impetus guarantees we'll go on until the world works for everyone, as age-old antipathies are foregone. A dream, yes, but just imagine is our catchword. So we say, why not? And trust that our beacon's flame will catch in the kindling beneath mankind's melting pot, so that minds and hearts both melt to the point where all the gloom and doom in our sight is gone, and what is felt is delight in our being, all of us, human. So in keeping Keith, I know we'll explore ways in which to use his talents, perhaps as a roving ambassador. For no one I think of, on balance, has more the capacity to make clear with unequaled ardor our chartered mission. So we're happy his choice is to harbor here the depth of his voice and of his vision. We are thrilled, Keith, that to stay here is your decision. Thank you so much, Keith. Bravo, bravo, wee-haw! Wee-haw!
Thank you, Duncan, for your artistry and your commitment to the university. We appreciate you. Every time he does one of those odes, he captures everybody's attention and he doesn't disappoint. So let's give him another round of applause. Again, I want to thank all of you for coming tonight to this celebration. The turnout is fantastic and is a testimony to the kind of person that we're honoring this evening. Keith Motley has embraced us all as part of his extended family over a distinguished career. And I know it means a lot to him to have all of you, people representing so many different facets of his life's work, present with him and his loving family as we celebrate his leadership in its impact on this university and beyond. And as family should, we want you to feel at home tonight, relax and enjoy the presentations, and feel free to grab some food and drink and reflect and smile, along with us as we listen to the words of many in person and on video who will share their thoughts and stories about our friend. There's some stories I'm sure you don't want us to share, but I don't know if we can control that, Keith. but the bar and the food stations will remain open during the program, so feel free to enjoy quietly while, while the program proceeds. And if you're not quiet, we will cut you off. And let's hear it for the UMass Boston Jazz Trio, which helped set the tone. Set the tone. Set the tone for our event this evening as you arrived. Their music brings a level of cool, a level of swagger to every occasion, and we want to recognize Anthony Martin on piano, Bryant Hall on drums, Grant Rudd playing bass guitar, I think. Grant was playing bass. Marty Meehan on percussions, Henry Thomas on tenor saxophone. I always wanted to know how that would sound. But at any rate, we're wannabes. Yeah. But they do a great job. It's like the third time I've heard them, and they're outstanding. We also want to thank all of you for your generosity shown by so many of you. So far, through this event, we've raised over $85,000 in cash and pledges for the J. Keith Motley Scholarship. And those pledges are still coming, so don't feel left out because you still have an opportunity to support such a fine instrument that will help young people advance their educational aspirations through UMass Boston. This scholarship will be awarded to 2 undergraduate students each year and supports them for their entire career at UMass Boston. Your support will make a difference to their educational experience these students have while they're on campus. When you say entire career, good thing I wasn't a recipient because you would have been paying for about 10 years, Keith. But it's a wonderful thing, and it's a great testimony and a great way to salute you. And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce our first speaker as president of the 5-campus, 74,000 student University of Massachusetts system. Marty Meehan leads an institution that is the primary engine for social and economic mobility in the Commonwealth. A strong public research university is critical to the future of our state, and President Meehan has led UMass to new heights in enrollment, degrees granted, research impact, and national stature. He is, without equivocation, the best. Is Jack Wilson in the restroom? Yeah, okay. He is the best president that the system has ever experienced. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Marty Meehan, UMass president.
Is Jack around? First of all, to Henry Thomas, thank you for your service to the Board of Trustees. You are an outstanding chairman of the board. You've made enormous contributions. You've been a great friend to Dr. Motley and all of us. Thank you, Henry, for your service. I take exception to Henry saying that I'm the best president because I have no doubt in my mind there has never been a president with better judgment than Jack Wilson. He chose me to be the chancellor at UMass Lowell, and he chose Keith to be the chancellor at UMass Boston. Jack, thank you. I also heard Henry say that we raised $85,000 tonight for the J. Keith Motley Scholarship Fund, and I like to round off numbers. So, Keith, I'm committing $15,000 to bring that up to $100,000. Couple of things. First of all of you that drove into this campus today could see the transformation that Keith Motley is responsible for at this university. All you have to do is drive your car in here. Keith has been an outstanding leader for this institution. This institution was started in 1964. It's been around for over 50 years. The longest serving chancellor in the history of this institution, about 1/5 of that time, is Dr. J. Keith Motley. And I think if you look at his record, you will see that no leader has been more responsible for the transformation of this institution than Dr. Motley. Let me give you an example. Enrollment grew by 25%, from 13,400 students in 2007 to 16,847 students this year. That's enormous growth. That growth in enrollment has allowed this campus to invest in itself. Research funding during the time that Keith has led this campus increased by 53%, from $42 million to $64 million. Due to Keith's leadership in 2016, the Carnegie Classification of Institutions of Higher Education designated UMass Boston for the first time in its history an institution of higher research activity. UMass Boston, under Keith's leadership, now generates $1.1 billion in economic activity that helps support 7,850 jobs across the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Now, we're proud of the UMass system. UMass Boston this year, for the first time in its history, is now ranked a nationally ranked research university, Tier 1, by U.S. News and World Report. And I want to tell you, there are about 3,500 four-year institutions in America, and only about 270 of them are Tier 1. Thanks to Keith Motley, UMass Boston is one of them. UMass Boston has been recognized with the Carnegie Foundation's 2015 Community Engagement Classification, which is considered, by the way, the gold standard for measuring the service that universities provide to local communities. The creation of the UMass Boston Honors College in 2014 never would have happened without Keith Motley. The opening of the first major academic building. We have folks from the Honors College here. This campus hadn't had a new academic building in, I don't know, over 35, 38, maybe 40 years. The opening of the first major academic building in decades that Keith Motley fought for and successfully was able to get through, an $183 million integrated sciences complex in 2015. The $130 million University Hall academic building in 2016. And you know what? When I became president of the system, the first thing that Dr. Motley said to me was, Marty, look at us, we're growing. Why is it that our students shouldn't have an opportunity to live in housing like students at universities all across New England and across the country? We are a minority-majority campus. Don't we deserve the same? For the first time in its history, the first dormitories, 1,086 beds, will open in September, thanks to Keith Motley. There is a new parking garage that's going to be open. We look over the last decade and we see the partnerships with UMass Boston and all of the Boston campuses throughout the Boston community. This has been a remarkable decade of leadership. And the impact of Keith Motley will be felt in this city and on this campus for many, many years. In 5 years, when you walk on this campus, you will see an amazing campus. And everyone will know, because we intend to preserve the legacy of Keith Motley, that it looks this way and it feels this way and it is this way because of his leadership. He has inspired. He inspires students. He inspires faculty. He inspires everyone he touches. He has had a transformational effect on this university, but also on thousands of children who have grown up in this area or beyond from other countries, who have gotten an opportunity to come to UMass Boston and transform their lives. And he's an inspiration to every single one of them. Now, I am very happy that Dr. Motley is going to be here, hopefully teaching for many, many years to come. But I want to tell you something. There are a lot of universities looking for presidents in Massachusetts and throughout the country. And they could not look at any better leader than Keith Motley. And I hope we keep him, but he'd be an incredible asset to any university, and I know he may have another presidency in him. So what I say to Keith is, Keith, thank you for all you've done for UMass Boston. We will honor you and make sure, and I talked to the Board of Trustees, and I know that the trustees who are here, Chairman Manning, Trustee Johnston, Henry Thomas, did I miss anyone? Jim Peyser? That we will honor that legacy, and we will always make sure that there is recognition that lasts forever at this university for the work that Dr. Keith Motley did to transform this institution. Keith, thank you very much for your leadership. Now, yes. I now want to introduce a member of the Board of Trustees, but also the Secretary of Education of the Commonwealth. He's been on the Boston campus many, many times at convocation. He also played a critical role in that approval process that I mentioned for new dorms on the Boston campus. He's a great guy to work with. He's been a great supporter of Keith. Please welcome the Secretary of Education, Jim Peyser.
Thank you, President Meehan. Thank you, Henry. Thank you, Keith, who's now missing from his chair. Oh, there he is. Okay. All right. Keith, do I get one of those when I'm done too? All right. Well, don't commit until you hear what I have to say. All right. Oh, man, this guy is great. All right, jeez, all right. It is an honor to be here on behalf of Governor Baker, Lieutenant Governor Polito, to celebrate the tenure of Keith Motley here at UMass Boston. A few months ago, I was here for a groundbreaking ceremony for the new residence halls that the President was just talking about. At that event, Keith displayed his characteristic vision, passion, and optimism. When it was my turn to speak, however, I chose to highlight one of his more underappreciated virtues, but perhaps the one that is most responsible for his many achievements over the past decade, namely persistence. Keith's charismatic leadership is hard to resist. Let me correct that. It's impossible to resist, as all of us know. But unlike some big personalities, Keith's focus is not on himself, but on the success of this great institution and the students that it serves. Equally important, he has always set his sights squarely on the future, and he is unwavering, even relentless, in working to make his vision of the future a reality. There is a parable about three stonemasons that captures Keith's tireless efforts to sustain and strengthen UMass Boston, and it goes like this. A man came upon a construction site where three people were working. He asked the first, "What are you doing?" "I'm laying bricks," the man replied. He asked the second worker the same question, "What are you doing?" And the man responded, "I'm building a wall." As he approached the third man, he heard him singing a hymn as he worked. And he asked yet again, "What are you doing?" The man stood up, looked to the sky, and smiled, "I'm building a cathedral." That third stonemason is Keith Motley. Many people look around this campus and they see a construction site that gets mud on their shoes. But Keith sees a bright future. But importantly, for Keith, that future is not just about beautiful buildings or even the institution itself. It's about the students who come here to learn and to change their lives, who are preparing themselves to transform their families and their communities here in Boston, across Massachusetts, and around the world. Keith has a special bond to the students of this university. He inspires them, and in turn, he is inspired by them. I'm quite sure that years from now, today's UMass Boston students will find themselves walking on a wet field after a rainstorm, and they'll look down to see that their shoes are covered with mud. But instead of complaining or scolding themselves that they should have worn boots, they'll smile, fondly and proudly remembering their days on Columbia Point and joyfully thinking of their leader and friend, Keith Motley. That will be Keith's greatest legacy. So Keith, thank you for your vision, for your passion, for your optimism, and for your persistence. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President Meehan, and thank you, Secretary Peyser. I noticed after we started that our distinguished Chancellor from University of Massachusetts Amherst, our flagship, Swami, Kimball Subbaswamy. Stand. No, you don't have to say anything. You get a break tonight. And also I want to recognize Chancellor Michael Collins, who's the Chancellor of our medical school, the distinguished world-class medical school, and his lovely wife, Mrs. Collins. Our next speaker is a man who has held many titles but comes to us tonight as President Emeritus of the University of Massachusetts. Jack Wilson is an entrepreneur, a professor of physics and of higher education, who served our university for nearly 8 years as its president, overseeing the creation of the first public law school in Massachusetts and bringing our 5-campus system together as a working unit on behalf of the Commonwealth. He is also a guy who was hired by Keith Motley. Oh, he's also the guy who hired Keith Motley. I got it twisted there. And I think Marty went to the restroom. He is the greatest president that the system has ever known. Ladies and gentlemen, Jack Wilson, another Pittsburgh native, no less.
Thank you, Henry. Thank you, yeah. That was, of all the introductions I've had, that is certainly one of them. Keith Motley, President Meehan, Chair Manning, Trustee Thomas, and we have so many distinguished guests here tonight. I'm really honored and humbled to be here to express my gratitude to Dr. James Keith Motley and his entire family for all they've done for our university, our community, our state, and honestly, a little selfish for me, professionally and personally. I want to offer particular thanks to Keith's wife, Angie. Thank you for all you've done. And, sorry, Keith, she's good. And to his children, Keith Allen, Kayla, and Jordan. They've been incredible supporters of Keith, his work, and personal friends to so many of us. I first met Keith when he came to UMass in 2003 to head student affairs. The minute I met him, it was obvious from the beginning this was an individual of uncommon leadership ability and potential. A year after I became president, I asked Keith to serve as interim chancellor here. I suggested afterward that I want him to come to the president's office to serve as part of my administrative team and to be exposed to other aspects of university leadership, particularly in academic affairs and in advancement. His challenge as interim chancellor was to rebuild a badly frayed bond with a local community, stabilize the campus leadership team, and restore smooth operations to the campus. It was an easy assignment, it was an easy assignment. Yeah, easy for me to say, hard for him to do. It was not an easy assignment for anyone, but Keith, you did it incredibly well. As you did everything. So after the search concluded, Keith did come back to the president's office as a vice president. I had the pleasure of then working with Keith for the next 3 years. It was always fun, and it was always productive. He led our administrative team in developing an approach to office operations and communications that served us long after you left. You really got us organized. He was instrumental in working with our advancement offices at the system level on every campus. I particularly recall, with pleasure, and you'll remember this, working with him on a project with one of our most distinguished alums. I don't want to mention any names, but Charlie Hoff comes to mind. That required quite a lot of listening and negotiation, and it eventually led to a multi-million-dollar donation that benefits all of our students on all of our campuses with scholarships every year. When it came to helping students, Keith would spare no effort. I asked him to return to UMass Boston as chancellor on July 1st, 2007. Keith was well prepared to lead, and he certainly did lead very well. For the next 4 years, while I was still president, I enjoyed working with Keith, admired the leadership that he provided to campus. Like most university leaders, he faced many challenges while never losing focus on what was most important to him and to me, creating good student learning experiences, great student learning experiences, and sending those well-educated students out into the community to serve and change the world. Now, speaking of challenges, one of those unwelcome challenges was rebuilding a campus infrastructure that had been badly, and I have to be honest, sadly corruptly, built by a state agency, not by the university. No university wants to spend so much of their time on buildings. Most of us want to focus on academic programs and student experience. Keith Motley, more than most, and that is a very high bar, was focused on the students. In spite of all these other challenges, he did that, and he did it well. And you're seeing this campus come together. This vision is coming together, and it's going to be a beautiful place because of all the work that you did. But the whole way through, students all the way. So we know the UMass Boston campus is a far better place because of Keith Motley's leadership. The students here know that. The faculty here know that. The local community knows that. And all of us, we all know that too. I know that Keith's going to continue to be the community leader that he's always been. I'm looking forward to watching him make those contributions. I expect them to be impressive, just as his contributions have been thus far. Keith, I'm eternally grateful to you, Angie, and the rest of your wonderful family right in front of us that we've come to know as friends and are almost family to me and Judy as well. Thank you, and best wishes for every success in life. Love you, man.
Thank you, President Wilson. I understand, and I actually see her now, that our distinguished chancellor from Lowell, UMass Lowell, is in the house. Jackie Maloney, please be recognized. The chancellors are a tight-knit group. They support each other unbelievably, and they get a lot done because of that. And my phone is ringing. And I just stopped it. Tonight we have another of Keith's colleagues from the world of higher education, but someone who also knows of his work in the community intimately. President Deborah Jackson took the helm of Cambridge College in May 2011. After decades of leadership across Boston's spectrum of private nonprofit institutions, as CEO of the American Red Cross of Eastern Massachusetts and at the Boston Foundation and Boston Children's Hospital, among others. She has been recognized by the Chamber of Commerce with the Pinnacle Award for Achievement in Management and as one of Boston's 100 most influential women. Her commitment to issues of social justice and engagement in the community makes her an important voice to hear in thinking about Keith's impact on the Commonwealth's capital city. Please welcome the distinguished Dr. Deborah Jackson.
Thank you so much, Henry. Good evening to all of you. I'm just delighted to be here, and most of all for you, Keith, and for your lovely wife, Angie. There are so many people, including almost everyone in this room, who would have wanted the opportunity to stand here and talk about Keith. And there are hundreds more throughout the city of Boston who would have wanted that opportunity as well. So I consider myself to be, oh, so very lucky that for whatever reason, I was asked to do this. So I will do my very best to channel what I believe so many people feel about Keith. I heard of Keith Motley long before I ever met him, when my baby brother, then a freshman at Northeastern University, talked with enthusiasm about Dean Motley, who played basketball, it's very important coming from Philadelphia, Keith, and had become my brother's mentor, helping him to navigate the challenges of being a freshman in college and being oh so very homesick. At that moment in the early 80s, my brother joined the ranks of what would become thousands of students who would have a story, that same story, to tell about the impact that Dean Motley had on their life. And while Keith may not remember my brother, like those thousands of other students, has never forgotten Dean Motley. Legend has it that on the campus of UMass, a walk that might take most people 10 minutes takes Chancellor Motley about 2 hours. And it's not, and you all know what I'm talking about, because of his slow, swaggering walk. It's because he stops along the way to speak to every single student he encounters, to ask about their day, to ask about what they think, to ask about their dreams and their wishes for their future. Not because he has to, but simply because he cares. And Keith's caring extends beyond his students. He is one of those rare individuals who opens his heart, gives of his time, shares his resources, and lavishes his support to so many people who need his help. We have all witnessed it in his community work, standing up for people who often can't speak for themselves. We have witnessed it in his work with young men, particularly men of color, who lack strong male role models in their life. And I personally have witnessed it as Keith embraced me and welcomed me and has mentored me when I assumed my first time as a college president in that role. His ability to connect with people on any level is simply endless. His compassion, his authenticity, and his personal integrity are qualities that are effusive with Keith, and you cannot ignore them because they are, in fact, the fabric of who he is. Despite the fact that he has excelled in so many areas as an athlete and a scholar, he is also a very humble man. At his core, he is all about his family. He loves his Angie, he loves his kids, he loves his community. And he is gracious, as we have all seen time after time, beyond measure. But beyond Keith's family life, His exceptional nature has shown most brightly in the field where he has chosen to spend his life, higher education. In this arena, for those of us who spend our life in this arena, we know that he is a distinguished visionary and a national leader, reflecting in his work the values that he embodies in his personal life. In Keith's book, Unlocking the Promise of Higher Education in a Global Age, he calls upon us to be mindful of rejecting the notion that we are hearing all over our country today that questions the value of higher education. What's the return on investment? What's the value proposition? Because Keith reminds us, as we've heard earlier, that education is the door to opportunity. Education is the door to social and economic mobility. And for people of color, for low-income people, for immigrants, education is the only path for a future for themselves and for their families. Keith talks about that in his book. He shares with us his strong belief that in addition to preparing the workforce of tomorrow, higher ed must be committed to the development of individuals, to their intellectual capacity, their character, their ability to make a contribution to society and their community. I am quoting from Keith's book as I share this with you. He notes that as a country, as we think about competing in a global context, we must focus on developing human beings in a way that allows their individual capacities to flower. If we do that, we will, as a society, succeed in every competition that matters most, end of quote. Keith's leadership in the field of higher ed, his commitment to providing opportunities for all, has been reflected in his work not only at Northeastern and UMass, but also at a national level, where he is often sought after to chair commissions to serve on boards of some of the most influential and distinguished associations and organizations that are influencing and shaping the future of higher education. This has been his passion. This is what he has pursued relentlessly for these many years, developing and shaping the intellect and the character of our next generation through education. Howard Thurman, renowned theologian, Morehouse graduate, former dean of the Marsh Chapel at Boston University, says, don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go do it. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive and who follow their passion, and in doing so, change the world. Keith, you are one of those people. In following your passion for justice, for equity, for opportunity, for helping to open doors for people, no matter what doors have been closed before they arrive at your doorstep, you have changed the world, and you have given the world what it needs. I had the joy of seeing recently the play, the musical Hamilton, and my husband knows this because he's tired of hearing me talk about it. The character George Washington sings a song that says, "History has its eyes on you." So Keith, I want to say in closing, history has its eyes on you, and your story is not over. The next chapter is still unwritten. And those of us who have come to love you, admire you, respect you, and be inspired by you, because, as my husband always says about you, you are just simply a special human being. We hope that we will be on that journey with you. We hope, because we promise that we're willing, that you allow us to continue on this journey with you, Keith. Our love and our respect from all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, President Jackson. Great, great comments, and so good that the baby over there was really into it. got really excited. Our next speaker hails from another institution of higher education we know is close to Keith's heart. Richard O'Brien serves as the director of the John D. O'Brien African American Institute at Northeastern University, where he is also a faculty member in the School of Public Policy and Urban Affairs and in the Department of Political Science. While he has many areas of academic specialty, he wishes tonight to speak to the power of mentorship, a cherished value of Keith's and one that he has practiced so well. Please welcome Keith's friend and one of his mentees, Richard O'Brien.
Good evening. It's no secret that Keith has mentored a lot of people. I just drew the short straw, so I got the right to talk, and I appreciate it. To Chancellor Motley, Lieutenant Governor Polito, Mayor Walsh, UMass President Meehan, former UMass Board Chair and Board Member Thomas, thank you, brother. Dear friend, President of Cambridge College, President Jackson, Hockey Captain Daly, Chancellor Motley's team and staff members of the UMass community, and all of the distinguished guests. To my brother, my mentor and friend, Chancellor Motley, to Angie, to Keith, Alan, and Marie, Kayla, and Jordan, thank you so much for this opportunity to briefly speak about Keith and Keith's role in my life and the lives of countless others, which he has mentored formally and informally. And I also have the opportunity to talk about his special relationship with my dad. I remember losing all sense of time and space, looking at clocks, and the time did not seem to register or move. Where I was physically seemed to have no significance. Speaking at my father, John D. O'Brien's funeral in 1992 was a surreal experience. When I recall it, I can see myself speaking from the pulpit as if I am watching myself on video. That day, it was two people at the same time, a young boy who sat in the front row with my family, scared, crying, and bewildered, while watching my other self, a grown man who had to be strong for the family. Why am I sharing this backstory? We often have no control over when good people leave our lives. But just as important, we often have no control over when good people come into our lives. How they come into our lives, and for what purpose do they come into our lives? I'm one of 5 sons of John O'Brien, and after we lost our dad, I would often spend time at his graveside, contemplating what I would do next and how I might be able to help keep his work alive. At one of the visits, I was sitting by his grave, and I asked my dad to help me handle this awesome responsibility that I could clearly see before me. While I sat trying to be still and quiet in the cemetery for a moment, I recall how my dad's voice sounded. My dad's voice softly said to me, "Just stay with me and everything will be all right." So that I don't spook you out, it wasn't like Mufasa talking from the clouds to Simba. Simba, remember, it wasn't like that. I just recall the sound of his voice, and in my mind saying, "Stay with me and everything will be all right." When I came back to Boston after graduating from Howard University in 1989, my dad was excited to introduce me to a young, energetic staff member at Northeastern University. At that time, my dad was the first Black vice president of student affairs. It was Keith. He introduced me to him. Keith was mentored by my dad, and Keith has been and continues to be a confidant and mentor to me. Keith at the time was director of the African American Institute and a founding member of the Concerned Black Men of Massachusetts. He was also establishing the Paul Robeson Institute for Positive Self-Development, a Saturday program focused on the enlightenment of young Black males. I don't have a lot of time, so I won't go through the hundreds, if not thousands, of developmental interactions I had and countless others have had with Keith over the years. Suffice it to say, I have personally and professionally been directly influenced by Chancellor Motley. For many years, I wondered what my dad meant when he communicated to me, "Stay with me and everything will be all right." Did he mean stay with his politics? Did he mean I should drive his car? What did he mean? I struggled to understand what he meant, and then one day it came to me. He was telling me if I stay connected to the people that he positively impacted, stay connected to those people that he loved, or that loves him and that cared about him, if I do that, everything will be all right. Chancellor Dr. J. Keith Motley is one of those people. When Keith got his PhD from Boston College, he inspired me to pursue one, and in 2004, I received my PhD from MIT. Keith inspired me when he was director of the African American Institute at Northeastern, and today I am also director of that same institute, now named the John D. O'Brien African American Institute. Now, just a side note, when we at Northeastern University renamed the African American Institute to the John D. O'Brien African American Institute, we had a wonderful ceremony. By the way, UMass family, we know you love Keith, Angie, and the children. However, we loved them first at Northeastern. And we just loaned them to y'all. Prior to the renaming ceremony, I had arrived and I saw Keith and then Northeastern President Jack Curry walking across the Institute parking lot. I exchanged appropriate handshake and embrace with President Curry, and then Keith and I embraced each other with an extended emotional bear hug as we both recognized the gravity of the moment and what the loss of my dad meant to both of us. Finally, 2 weeks ago, after several years of not seeing him, I ran into a retired MIT Chancellor, Phil Clay, who was extremely instrumental and supportive of my success at MIT. And he asked me endearingly, he said, "Are you a college president yet?" I said to him, "I'm working on it." But I could only say something like that, and I can only entertain a thought like that, because I see my brother and my mentor and my friend, Keith, has done it, and he has done it well. I just have one question for you, Keith. What you gonna do next? I'm gonna be right there with you, bro. In conclusion, I would like to say directly to you, Keith, my father, wherever he is, his spirit is still very much present with you. He's with me, he's with all of us. And on behalf of Lanice, my sons, my mom, my brothers, my father-in-law, Pete, from Lanice's family, which is wild because he knew my father-in-law before I met my wife, Lanice. On behalf of the Brothers of Concerned Black Men, Incorporated, and the students and the parents of the Paul Robeson Institute for Positive Self-Development, and the countless number of students you have mentored over the years, formally and informally, I just want to say a heartfelt thank you, thank you, thank you. We love you, we admire you, we respect you, and we salute you. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you, Richard, for that powerful testimony of the personal impact of important relationships in our lives. Outstanding. And now it's my pleasure to introduce another great example of the quality of future leaders being graduated at UMass Boston. We all know Keith's love for his students. Anyone who has attended an event on campus, I was at the last graduation, I can testify to that. That's not the only event I've went to, but that was definitely an experience. Anyone who has attended an event on campus or A meeting knows the challenge of waiting for Keith as he traverses across the campus on his way somewhere, and what happens when he must, as he always does, check in with his students. Somebody already mentioned that, so we have some affirmation here. It may just be to ask how their class was or if they saw the game last night, but his larger-than-life presence and embrace of the incredible student body here has been a hallmark of his leadership. Tonight, we have asked one of the student athletes to join us to speak about the impact of Keith's love for his students. Elton Albee Daly is a 2017 graduate of the University of Mass Boston College of Nursing and Health Sciences, in which he was honored with the 2017 CNHS Award for Distinguished Service. Additionally, he received the 2017 Beacon Undergraduate Study Leadership Award. He was a 4-year varsity letter winner on the men's ice hockey team and was selected as a 2-year captain. He served as vice president of the Student Athlete Advisory Committee and president of the university's Pre-Health Society. This summer, he is working in Cambridge for a nonprofit public health foundation to educate parents, children, schools, and local communities on the negative health implications of childhood obesity. Additionally, he is observing in the Division of Orthopedics at Boston Children's Hospital. And in the fall, this guy's busy, and in the fall, he will return back to his hometown in New York, where he will spend the year preparing for the medical college admissions test, also known as MCAT, well known by the chancellor over there, and volunteering in the local hospital serving underprivileged communities. In June of next year, he will apply to medical school for the start of a hopeful career in orthopedic surgery. Did you get that, Chancellor Collins? All right, put him on your bucket list. Ladies and gentlemen, Albee Daly.
Good evening. I got that from you, you know. I'd like to begin tonight by thanking all of those who made tonight's celebration possible. And although no thank you is large enough for all that Chancellor Motley has done for this university and community as a whole, I am beyond honored to have the opportunity to thank him publicly from the perspective of a student and athlete who has learned more from him than he may know. When I was first contacted to speak tonight by Vice Chancellor Titus, I became instantly nervous. I recall calling Coach Belial of the men's hockey team, who some of you may know, and saying, geez, man, this isn't like giving the boys a pump-up speech before the national championship, in which he replied with, you'll be fine, buddy, you'll be fine, you'll be fine. But on a serious note, yeah, if you know him, you know. But on a serious note, I really struggled to think of a way in which I could properly thank the man who has not only transformed this campus, but an entire student body into the most diverse group of smart, creative, caring, hardworking, and driven individuals I have ever had the pleasure of being around. In preparation and out of curiosity, I reached out to some students at other universities throughout the country, and I asked them one simple question: what do you know about your chancellor? Here are some of the responses I received. I don't know, dude. He's some rich guy that prances around campus like the Pope. The second, I don't really see him, just at graduation. The third, really nice guy. Got to meet him one time at a volunteer event. Great. To me, this seemed very odd, because our chancellor, Chancellor J. Keith Motley, he was always present at student-run events, aware and open to our opinions, and consistently on our side as a student body. He pushed us to succeed in the classroom, on the playing field, and in the community, while lobbying for this campus, both locally and globally. And perhaps most importantly in this day and age, he remained driven throughout his career to support our faculty, student body, and university as a whole through the good times and certainly through those of difficulty. It is for these reasons and many more that I decided to ask our students what they thought of our chancellor, and to no surprise received the following. A rising sophomore from Columbia stated to me, "I adore him. He gave me confidence in our system and confidence in myself. Coming to the States from Columbia, I didn't believe I could graduate from an American institution. From the day I arrived here, he's amazed me with all of his leadership, and without him, this education would not be possible." A rising senior, first in her family to attend college, stated to me, "I can't express how much I admire his leadership. From the day I arrived here, he's amazed me and my classmates with his leadership and has been an instrumental part to my experience here at the University of Massachusetts, Boston. I can honestly state that I would not have gotten here without him." A teammate of mine stated, and you'll like this one, Chancellor, "I love that guy, man. Not only will I miss his leadership, but I will really, really miss his workouts in the Clark Athletic Center gym." The last quote I have chosen to share with you all tonight stood out to me as epitomizing Chancellor Motley's career here at UMass Boston. This particular student, who maintained a very close relationship with him, stated to me, "He always just instructed me to go for it. When I told him I was hesitant to pursue medical school in fear of failure, he instantly stopped me and said, 'Listen to me. There are many paths to achieve your goals. While one person may cut straight through the highway to get to their destination, you may have to go across the world and back to reach the same place. In both situations, the outcome will be exactly the same, but the path taken varies upon the individual.' She ended by stating to me, 'Chancellor Motley opened up the doors for a world of opportunity for me, and now it's up to me to make sure those doors stay open.' To summarize, one point that stood out in each of these scenarios, and one I can certainly attest to, is that from the moment we stepped on this campus, regardless of the steps we took to get here, we could find a home here at the University of Massachusetts, Boston, thanks to the work done over the past decade by Chancellor J. Keith Motley. In closing, I would like to share with each of you the first interaction I shared with Chancellor Motley on this campus. Mind you, I was a very shy freshman, and during my freshman year, student-athlete symposium, I sat there as a young, hungry, ambitious, and very over-anxious kid with little idea of what my future held. After the seminar, Coach Peter Belisle introduced me to the Chancellor. Nervously, I shook his hand and looked straight up. Without hesitation, and with that slight but very serious smile that many of you have come to know, he looked down, squeezed my hand, and said, "Do your job in the classroom, represent us well in the community, work your hardest to bring me rings, and we will make this the best 4 years of your life." Well, well, Chancellor, here's your ring. Thank you for the best 4 years of my life, and thank you for defining what it means to be a chancellor at the University of Massachusetts, Boston.
Albie Daly captured some of that Motley wisdom and the Motley magic. Outstanding. Tonight we have heard some great testimonials to our friend Keith Motley. I just want to share some of my own thoughts as well. It has been a pleasure for me to watch Keith bring his unique abilities to this campus with its special and unique mission of providing an education equal to the best for all students, not some students, but for all students. His vision has brought UMass Boston status as a Tier 1 research university in the U.S. News and World Report rankings, has physically transformed this campus creating state-of-the-art facilities that these students deserve, like the new science complex, the Edward M. Kennedy Institute, and University Hall, while also correcting long-standing infrastructure issues. And he brought to fruition the first residence hall on campus, which will open next fall. The Just Imagine campaign is a perfect campaign for Keith. Every time the chancellors and other staff members can witness to this as well, every time Keith talked about Just Imagine, he was so reverent and so boisterous and so, dogmatic and magnanimous and all the adjectives that help one communicate in a unique and an effective way. Just imagine, this place was a dump. We're sitting on a garbage dump, and just imagine what can rise from the ashes. And Keith, he would give that speech and get everybody, psyched up. And Just Imagine campaign is, like I said, a perfect campaign for Keith. It has been his imagination. It has been Keith's imagination that enabled UMass Boston to grow double in size during his tenure. It has been his imagination that inspired staff, board members, students, system presidents, governors, legislators to dream with us and help us transform the imagination to realization. What UMass Boston has become and what it will become is a direct result of Keith Motley's incredible leadership of this great urban public research university. You and your family, as well as the UMass family, should be proud beyond measure. You know Dr. King was a dreamer too. Often people stop when they considered his contribution, they stopped where he dreamed or what he talked about, he dreamed about. But Dr. King was also an activist. He took the dream and proactively made things happen. Like Dr. King, Chancellor Motley, you used imagination and dreams to fuel his actions. And it has been poetry in motion. I'm reminded of a poem that kind of speaks to how Keith Motley operates. It's the rose. It's the dream that's afraid of waking, that never takes a chance. It's the heart that's afraid of breaking, that never learns to dance. It's the one who's afraid of taking, that never learns to give. And it's the one who's afraid of dying, that never learns to live. Keith Motley knows how to live, and he knows how to make things happen because his imaginations transform into realization and things get done. And we are so proud to be associated with you and your dreams because you make us all better, and UMass Boston is not going to be just better tomorrow. 10, 15, 20, 30 years from now, this place will be a Shangri-La, and your contribution has been enormous. So thank you, Keith, for all that you've given. So it's no surprise that there are many who want to lend their voices to the chorus, singing their thanks to Keith for the gift of his leadership and presence during his tenure at UMass. So we're going to facilitate that desire by showing you a video. So if you just kind of pay your attention to the screens on both sides. We have something to share.
Here I am now, looking back 10 years to when I appointed him as chancellor, and 14 years to when he first came to work for me in the president's office, and I see accomplishment after accomplishment. He also did a terrific job in a very difficult situation of beginning the rebuilding of the campus. He's brought it a long way. I couldn't have asked anybody to do a better job as chancellor.
I actually first met him when he came to Boston as a student athlete many years ago, and we've been friends since then. Really happy when he decided to come to UMass Boston as the Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs. His ability to relate to students and become someone who all students felt like they knew personally. He was their best friend as well as their chancellor. I think resonated throughout our campus with all of our students.
Keith became passionately connected with this place, passionately committed to the mission. It was close to his roots, it was close to what he was all about. And during his years here, he did everything he possibly could, brought all his energy, all his love really of this place to elevating UMass Boston and making it the university he hoped and knew it could become.
The two characteristics about Chancellor Motley that stand out to me are his passion and his compassion. Passion for higher education, passion for excellence, passion for serving the underserved. And of course, we're really proud of the fact that his daughter Kayla is a student on our campus, and so I get to see him and Angie as parents, and it's been, again, really wonderful to have him on our campus as a parent, and of course, having Kayla has been just a delight.
For those of us who depend on this university for an opportunity at life, you have made it all come true. If I think about the number of students who have come through this university over the last 10 years or so, we're probably talking 35 or 40,000 students who have had their lives measurably improved by you.
He took me aside and he said, whatever you want to say as a student trustee, whatever it may be about, go right ahead. Feel free to talk about whatever at the Board of Trustees, because you are a student and your opinion really matters.
One of my earliest memories of the Chancellor was actually while I was working as an orientation leader here on campus. The Chancellor was scooting through to get to another meeting, and he saw our orientation team and reminded us just how important our job was to serve the students of this community. Fast forward to senior year at commencement, the Chancellor gave me a personal shout out reminding me just how hard I worked while I was here and thanked me for my service to the community. And that's the legacy I think the Chancellor is leaving behind, a legacy of service.
Tommy loved his alma mater and worked closely with the Chancellor in advancing the educational opportunities for our city's children. And when the mayor wanted to make sure students graduated from college on time and with a degree, he called Chancellor Motley to help. Success Boston has been a huge success because of that partnership.
And I don't think there's anyone else who could have rallied the higher ed community than Keith, and he has stayed with this very faithfully, and we have seen tremendous success. Success Boston is recognized as one of the leading college completion programs in the country, and we just never could have gotten there without his leadership.
His unwavering commitment to extending education through the public higher education system to students from families who might never have imagined that higher education was possible. This commitment has meant a great deal to all of us who have been inspired by his dedication and his leadership.
As a leader, he has taken the University of Massachusetts in Boston to whole new heights, turned it to its real potential to be a destination for scholarship for people who work for a living, people who speak English as a second language, strivers and strugglers of every stripe and kind. The University of Massachusetts in Boston has been one of the great jewels in the economic development and promise of this part of our Commonwealth.
When we talk about talent development, he himself has been a champion for youth development and professional development. It's not rare to find the Chancellor at some kind of gathering, really inspiring young people.
He inspires young people to do better for themselves personally and academically. Personally, I want to thank Chancellor Motley for being a friend, a colleague, a mentor, and most importantly, an inspiration.
I remember once Chancellor Motley told me that he's only achieved the letter P in the word potential so far in his life. And that inspired me to work harder, excel inside and outside of the classroom, and helped me on my path to graduation and graduating with a degree in biochemistry on the pre-medical track.
Chancellor Motley has been a great presence on the campus of UMass as well as in the neighborhoods of Dorchester, which is where I am from, and I'm very, very grateful for his leadership over these past years.
It is through his leadership and that of 9 other men that they came together to form the Concerned Black Men of Massachusetts and the Paul Robeson Institute. Keith, as being one of the leaders of the program of the Paul Robeson Institute, a Saturday academy for boys in the Boston area, has dedicated his life to development of children, access to students and student education so they could change their circumstances to be positive role models and citizens in their communities. One of the things I most admire about Keith is his ability to offer teachable moments. You know, those are the moments when things don't always go as well as you'd like them to, but yet he has the compassion and understanding to pull people aside to say, here's what you might want to do next time.
Keith very much has a similar background, and what he represents is, if he can do it, I can do it. And so he has been a mentor, a friend, an inspirational figure, and someone who young men can aspire to be like.
From the moment I met Keith Motley, I knew that he'd put UMass Boston on the map. It's been a total pleasure working with him all these years.
When I think of Keith Motley and his time as Chancellor at UMass Boston, the word that comes to mind is impact. Keith certainly oversaw a period of time in which UMass Boston became not just a safety or a backup school, but a school of choice for the kids not only of Boston, but beyond.
Keith has taken an inner city university and turned it into not only a school which is known in Massachusetts, but nationally, but globally as well. And the opportunity it has presented to all Boston and greater Boston students has been exemplary.
He was very successful in building bridges to other organizations, to institutions, to business leaders, so that they came to appreciate what the UMass Boston campus could contribute to the quality of life here in the capital city. And when you think about the nationally ranked institutions and internationally ranked higher education institutions, for UMass to be able to make its mark here in Boston requires extraordinary leadership.
When I first met and knew about Keith, I knew I was going to love this brother because he's, first of all, a basketball player and also a soul singer.
So Keith reminds me a lot of Father Monin, who I had the honor of working with. They have a heart, they lead from their heart, they have a moral compass, impeccable integrity.
He's everywhere. I served by his side as his sister chancellor for almost 10 years, and he was a partner in many things, a good friend and an ally in hard fights for good things, and I respect him and I trust him. I was thrilled a few years ago when Keith welcomed me home to UMass Boston when I came to be the president of the Edward M. Kennedy Institute, and I know the Institute will always be grateful that it has found its home here on the Boston campus.
I've been on this campus for nearly 40 years, and I've had an occasion to size up and assess newcomers, whether they be students, faculty, staff, or chancellors. And the principal criterion that I usually employ in sizing them up is whether they fit with UMass Boston, because UMass Boston is a unique place and it takes unique people to succeed here. And I will say that in my view, Chancellor Motley's fit with UMass Boston is perfect.
Keith, I'm speaking today on behalf of the many, many people on the Board of Visitors who love and admire you for your leadership and inspirational direction to the Boston campus. We all want to thank you for all your contributions to the campus and the great commitment that you've made to bringing UMass Boston into the leadership ranks of great universities in the city of Boston.
In 2011, I received the Chancellor's Medal. Along with receiving the Chancellor's Medal, there was a scholarship in my name and my wife's name. Keith really changed the skyline at UMass Boston, but at the same time, he kept the soul of UMass Boston and he didn't abandon the fundamental mission. So I have no doubt that someday Keith will be inducted into the UMass Hall of Fame, and I can't wait to attend that event. And I'm going to attend that event as a fan and a friend.
The Chancellor's extraordinary accomplishments and unwavering dedication to this outstanding university is a legacy that he should be very, very proud of. His friendship, his kindness to me is a gift that I will always treasure. Proud to be a member of the Motley crew.
And I just want to say thanks, because you have made my job easier. You have made it easier for me to fight for funding for UMass Boston and the system. And we just say thank you. Thank you for all your work and your hard work, but your heart being in the right place and uplifting and rebuilding and rebranding this incredible university we call UMass Boston.
Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, truly, if there was a human being on this planet needing no introduction, Chancellor J. Keith Motley is the one. He has already introduced himself by his work, his commitment to students, and his commitment to the community. I just want to say thank you to the committee who asked if I would handle the MC responsibilities. I was deeply honored and moved, and I feel that I owe a thank you to you, Keith, because but for your work, I wouldn't have the opportunity to have this evening at the mic. And thank you to your staff and your team. It's with great honor and pride to bring to the microphone, finally, the man of the hour, our beloved, my friend, Chancellor Keith Motley.
So, good evening, family. Good evening, good evening, good evening. For I know that I am just so honored to be part of your family. You are incredible. You know, as a little boy, I dreamed a whole lot of dreams. You know, when I look around, you were in it. And to be with you at this phase of my life is just amazing. You know, I was with Mel King the other night when he was talking about his book. And Mel talks about love. And I have never felt in my life unloved. When I was sent here at 17 years old to Boston from the great city of Pittsburgh, that love continued, and it sort of drives me. I get up every morning, and I'm blessed to have this life that allows for me the opportunity to serve you and to build upon that love. And so I'm excited. You know, these are tears because emotionally, you know, you have just overwhelmed me, because I hope that you understand that you were talking about yourselves, because you've inspired me. So when you were up here, whatever the testimonies were, that's because you know, we've connected on that level and we've dug deep together in this work. Duncan, thank you. Thank you for, you know, being an example of what it means to be 87 years old and, you know, the journey that you have in front of you is just as special of all those years you've had behind you. Thank you for tonight. You know, you're a blessing to this campus. To those of you, President Meehan, who was here, thank you for rounding off that number. Because it's going to go to the students, not because Keith needed the ego trip because we got to $100,000. Those that know me know that I grew up on peanut butter and syrup. So anything is up from there. We knew how to make it work, and I never felt unloved, as I said. And so it's incredible. So thank you for rounding that out. Secretary Peyser, we've been in this a long time. They don't know that, but we know it. Thank you, man, for being here. I'm glad it was you, that you came and represented everybody else. So thank you for that. Jack Wilson calls me at my family reunion on the 4th of July in Pittsburgh. I think it's Jack Wilson from the Pittsburgh Pirates calling me, because he was shortstop at the time. So I think it's one of my friends playing a prank on me and I hang up on him. True story. Said, "You're late, come on over, your mother," because my mother's like the mother to everyone in town. That's where I got my love from. A 5'3" lady who taught me that a long time ago. Give it out and just watch it come back. So I've never felt unloved. And so thank you, Jack Wilson, for this opportunity to serve. That's what I asked. You know, I'm not in this business or wasn't in it for the thing about being a college president, although my mentors told me that, I ran from that. Sometimes mentors tell you a whole lot of things to inspire you. But I had not seen an example of that in Boston. Tall and handsome and looking like me with a bald head. There was no example like that in Boston for me. So for me, that was sort of like, I thought I had to go somewhere else to do it, but you told me I didn't. Even when I didn't believe that. My mentors told me I didn't. And now all I've ever wanted to be is that example for the next generation that looks like me, to know what success looks like, and that you can do this in a space like this and do it well. Deborah Jackson has been a big sister to me for a long time, and she knows that. Yes, I remember your brother's story, but I remember your model, your coming back to Northeastern after stopping out for a while and being a model for me when I was a freshman, watching you. And so I was glad to have the opportunity to be with you. Richard O'Brien, your father, was my mentor. Continues to mentor me because, as you know, the ancestors continue to speak. You know, we live on through those who we serve and touch. That's the secret. The elders taught me that secret a long time ago. And so you live on and on and on and on through those folk. And so your dad is here. Your dad is in a lot of us. Was honored to have him as a model of excellence. Albie Daly. You know, the only thing I knew about ice hockey was the bean pot. And that if I went to the games, they paid me to work the press box as a student athlete. You guys made me love ice hockey, but you made me love the fact that you were incredibly talented students. The ice hockey team always came in first academically, not just here, but across the country. And so I'm so grateful to you all for that. And so now that that's out the way and I've got my emotions intact, let me just say to you, I couldn't ask for a better group to serve with than my fellow chancellors and all of my colleagues who happen to be in administration for the University of Massachusetts and its system. I ran to work to be with you every day and never saw it as work. Thank you for your love and support, for allowing me to be your brother and to never feel that like I wasn't part of that and feeling special every time you walked into the room. Thank you for touching my soul. I appreciate each and every one of you. To the board members that are here, Phil and others, thank you so much. To this community, thank you for allowing me into your space and for putting up with me. I'll tell you the story that I came here thinking I was all that. I had come from Huntington Avenue. Some folk told me I was going to the Titanic. I won't say who it was. But those same people decided they wanted to get on the Titanic with me, and if it sank, they were coming, because once they came over and saw it for themselves, they wanted to show up. So thank you all. Thank you all for that. Angie, my closest friend and confidant throughout the journey, my anchor through the highs and lows of leadership, you saw me crumbled on the couch. And I said it in church the other day as I spoke to them. It was like being a crinkled potato chip, begging for 10 more minutes as chancellor. And how can I now, after 10 years of serving, when most get the chance to serve for 4 years in a role like this, knowing what we've accomplished together and having you to wake up to every morning and the blessing of that, how can I complain? I'll never complain. Building my life with you, building my family with you. So whether there were school meetings that I missed or athletic events that you had to come to or holiday gatherings, you stepped forward to be beside me in this as our First Lady. There may have been First Ladies in the past, but I know there's not been one as beautiful as you here on this campus. And that's in deference to my sister right here, because she knows I love her. Those of you should know that Michael Collins and his family are like family to us. And my mother asked about Michael before she asked me how my event's going to be tonight. And asked about Jack Wilson. And so you masked your utter exhaustion in so many ways. And so I just want you to know how much I appreciate you and the blessing of my children that are here tonight. Keith Allen, Kayla Iman, and Jordan, but I also have my beautiful daughter, Marie, who's here, who my son married on September 2nd of last year, and we're so grateful to have them both here today. Along with that crying child you hear over there, who happens to be my goddaughter's son, who's sitting over there. That's why he's here tonight. He's letting Uncle Keith, Godfather, know that everything is cool, And so to all of you that have come and given so much to this scholarship, thank you so much for knowing my heart and soul. I spent my career working to broaden the reach of higher education. I'm so grateful that in honoring me, you honor this cause and join me in opening the doors to someone who might not otherwise be able to pursue their dream for a university education. That's important to me. And I will not forget you on this journey. I want my man Mickey Burnham to stand up. Mickey Burnham is representing all the presidents in the country who happen to be part of a state university system. He's here tonight in their honor, and I'm so grateful you came to surprise me tonight. I was their president. Mickey was their president, and I'm so grateful, Mickey, you didn't think I saw you out there. See, and to my staff, before I finish this up, I want to say to those who have worked with me in the Chancellor's office, So the president called me James Keith Motley. You know, they give you all these short, fancy names when you become chancellor. So they decided to call me J. Keith Motley, Dr. J. Keith Motley. And the reason is because they never like it when James shows up to work. When James shows up, that means he hasn't worked out. So he's got an attitude problem. And it's rare that I show up in spaces that I love with an attitude problem. When I do, they send me to the gym, they send me out to walk, they give me all kinds of things, and that staff has put up with James, and they love to see Keith. So they decided to shorten it to J. Keith, and that's the origin of all of that. My son thought it was because he was over here and there were too many Keiths on campus. No, it's because of that. Coming to work here was never coming to work. It's more like coming to hang out with like-minded, incredible family and friends to work on an incredible project for one of our homes. I knew each day that I was entering a domain of kindred spirits who understood the urban mission of this institution, who shared a vision of inclusiveness and excellence that students and stakeholders deserve, and who were willing to work and sacrifice to transform the vision into living reality. And we have accomplished, not Keith, we have accomplished a tremendous amount toward getting that done. I knew that we wouldn't finish it all, but we developed a plan that was 25 years in length with a 10-year accelerated first part. So I'm proud of what we've been able to do. Some made that pride into arrogance. It's not arrogance. But as I always say, when you know what you know that you know, and lots of people don't know that you know, you can walk around smiling because you know. And so when you know, I know we're not done yet. Put on your seatbelts. My role may change, just as many of your roles will change. Change is inevitable. And one takes a leadership role understanding that. I knew I wasn't going to be chancellor forever. But chancellor is a title. Chancellor's not who I am. I've understood that. It's going to come to an end. But the mission and the movement continues. So I'm looking forward to the bright future. My responsibility was to lead us, even when we didn't want to be led, towards what we decided we wanted to be as an institution. And to remind us of that mission and to help us get there. And then pass this place on to the next generations in a way that I never dreamed about being able to do. And so that's what we're doing. So I'm looking forward to coming to this campus with you, easily finding a parking space, walking unencumbered by construction fences and barricades, and unconcerned with crumbling infrastructure. I look forward to strolling the Harbor Walk, around our perimeter, seeing the beautiful landscaping that's in store. I look forward to the university being the destination point we envisioned together. I look forward to this university continuing to move the needle on student success. I look forward to reading more about the groundbreaking research that's going to be produced here in the University of Massachusetts in Boston. I look forward to seeing more students transformed by your teaching, by your programs, by your engagement with and with this world. I look forward to students living on campus while they learn. As an option, not an end. I look forward to commencement returning to the peninsula. When all this will happen, we will have realized that we've arrived at the place that we envisioned as a home for our souls. So you remember when I started this journey with you, I spoke of a homeward return. Quoting T.S. Eliot then, "We shall not cease from exploration, and at the end of all of our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know that place for the first time." As restless souls together, we set out on this adventure, knowing that despite all the good we were doing, there was something more, calling out to us or even calling from within us. Now, as tomorrow approaches, we are all coming to find that what appealed to us for new expression and new applications was the noble mission that has drawn us all to this work together. We are, you are, the University of Massachusetts, but more importantly, we are contributors to this great society. We are here to serve. I am so honored. Thank you to everyone who planned this event tonight. Thank you for all the love I feel around this room. Thank you to all the staff who has been running around trying to keep things away from me. Thank you for all the notes, something like 40,000 notes that I've received from people from all over this country and in this town. Those are what fuel me. And so as someone said, you know, what's next? First thing is rest. The second thing is service, because that's been my life. I hope that is here, but the Creator has that. So I don't, I'm never worried about that. And so I'm proud to have made this journey with you as your chancellor. I'm looking forward to seeing what's next. When you see me walking around campus and I'm lost, after a year when I come back and I'm trying to find my way to whatever the new building is that will open up or the new roadway, just point me in the right direction and to put that light on the window on for me. Thank you, everybody. I love you. I love you. I love you. Take care.
Chancellor Keith Motley. This has been a wonderful evening, and give yourself a round of applause because you helped make it a wonderful evening. Thank you. We, if you can stay around and greet Chancellor Motley. He'll be glad to shake your hand, and thank you for providing this opportunity for me to share in this experience, and have a safe trip home. Good night.